I'm here today at home in the morning, made myself a cup of tea, and I'm here reminiscing and thinking about how my journey has been with Beats of War and where we started, how it all started. And I thought I would share my story before I can tell you about my fundraiser. To kind of tell you how everything began. It's always good and exciting to have an idea of what superhero character you want to create, what story you want to create. But sometimes when you don't have something that you maybe not passionate about, you don't know how it's going to come across to people or the readers, the new audiences, especially if you're new in that community. So when I started with Beats of War, I was new to the comic book community and I didn't know how people were going to receive it. So I was like, I'm that kid from Congo, so I'm gonna tell my own story. Hopefully I can connect with a lot of comic book readers, build a huge fan base. So I'm coming here on Kickstarter today to sort of build a new fan base. I've got a lot of people who've already been buying Beats of War. It's sold over 25,000 copies and we are on issue 3 at the moment. And issue 4 is in the works, almost done. But I'm here to launch this new campaign to help us finish the issue 5 of our final story arc of the 5 issues. So the stories will keep going, but we have our was issue 1 from 1 to 5, and the 5th one is going to be the climax story arc before we take you on another journey of what's going to happen in the series of Beats of War. A bit about my background. I'm a filmmaker and I'm a writer as well. So I've shot and directed music videos, documentaries, but this year I've actually worked on a feature film which is coming out this year. So I'm a man of all trades. I'm making comic books and telling stories on the big screen, but these stories that are in the comic books are things I want to translate to the screen in future. How did I start? I started off as a delivery driver. So when I was doing film stuff, I was like, you know what? I'm not going to ask for funding from anywhere because people are not sure what I can pull off on my story. So I'm going to fundraise and find money myself by doing delivery job and raise enough to be able to pay the artist, to pay the someone to come and be my script editor, my letterer, everything that involves in the comic book. So I raised money to do the first comic book that came out 2020. And as of today, this comic book is sold over 25,000 copies. So each profits that came from the comic book were reinvested back in the second one and in the third one, and even we have the 4th one coming. And today I want you guys to be one of the people to own these editions of the comic book on things we've created. It's been a very incredible journey exploring this universe and creating something from scratch, from my ideas, and kind of bringing my character and the Scottish character together. Now, a bit about Beats of War. Right, so you've heard the title Beats of War. So the beat stands for the music side of it, which is the sound side of it, like the music that is made in the studio. And the war is sort of like what the character is trying to stop in the universe. So the story of Beats of War follows a character that comes from a planet being attacked by non-robotic invaders and comes to Earth to find answers to save his planet. And when he gets to Earth, he discovers music. So his planet has no music, but on the journey to find answers to save his planet, he finds music, which links back to the title, which is Beats of War, and his main superpower being sound manipulation. So the character's name is Etian, from a name Etian, and the people of that planet are called the Etians. So I kind of wanted to create unique things, words and names that go with my name, or things that I could care about, or things that reference back to me. And yeah, so E.T. from Etian, Etians with the E-T-I-A-N-S, which are the people of the planet. So Kepler planet 452b is a planet I found out on Google about, a planet scientists found that is twice the size of Earth, that is about maybe 500 light years away and could inhabit human life. So it's like, I think it would be quite interesting to set the story there and have a character come from there and coming to Earth in Scotland. Why Scotland? Scotland is my second home now. I've been living here for 12 years. I've loved and connected with some cool people here, and I thought sort of reflecting the two worlds of where I come from is really important for me in the story. So how do I bring Scotland in the series? I mean, a bit of history of Scotland with the Reza gang. These are the gangs who ran the streets of Glasgow in the 1920s, between 1920s and 1930s, and the east and the south of Glasgow, and they are quite violent. They're more like Peaky Blinders, if you know Peaky Blinders. They have razors, and they've got knives, and they've got shotguns, and they're all suited up, and they've got the Bonjour Pali hearts on. So I like that sort of cool villain look of characters that are grounded, characters that we can sort of relate to and connect to, but also build fear and are not scared of attacking any flying superhero in their own city. When you look at some of the villains of films that are maybe like Sicario, and No Country for Old Men, I like really grounded stories, especially when it comes to villains. So I wanted to create characters that people of Scotland or people who've read about Scotland will feel connected to, and they would feel the fear of how these characters or these people could have been at the time, but bringing them back in a science fiction story as if they've been there for hundreds of years, and they run the streets and they control the governments, they control all the underground rail networks. So I kind of wanted to bring them back in and have them crash with the Raza gang, with E.T. So how does E.T. crash with them? You get to read it, issue 1, if you haven't read it. Please support my project. So we got issue 1 to 4. So when you support, there will be different rewards that will take you from getting issue 1, 2, 3, and 4. And how does E.T. crash with the Reza gang? So he's on his journey to find answers to save his planet, makes friends in Scotland, and at some point he gets into a fight with some of the gangs, and one gets killed by mistake, and now that gives Steph, who's the lead of the gang, to hunt him down. It gets really interesting. So I really love those grounded stories. These guys do not care that this superhero flies or got this superpower. They're gonna hunt him down and make him pay for what he's done. So you're in for a ride. The other thing I wanted to mention is that with E.T.'s story, it kind of reflects where I come from, which is Congo, and I wanted to sort of portray my country in a more positive way, as a sort of futuristic Afro nation that is super successful but has got some of its bad things that are happening in the planet, hence why the character leaves the planet, which really talks about my journey coming from Africa to Scotland and living here. So kind of like bring my two worlds together. When you look at the way the characters look, I've kind of used our culture references, like for example from warships are based on music instruments called moduli from our country, and I've used landmarks in Scotland, like this ship machine that used to take things off the ship. They call them the Titan crane. So I kind of use that reference to create motherships, so kind of like really unique elements that make the comic book unique from what's out there. And then like the look of the Etians is based on our culture in Middle East Africa, like how most of the clans and the tribes used to cut their hair. So I went all the way back 100 years ago and I look at different haircuts and how they looked, and I kind of used that soft style into the Etian. So kind of putting these little details that make the comic book really super unique from what's out there. It's a science fiction action-packed comic book. You will love it. Reading ages from 7 and up, but adults can read them as well. And also finally, it's got a Spotify. So if you go on Spotify and put DJ E.T, you'll find soundtracks that I've created specifically for the comic book. Something extra for you to listen to as you read, or before and after, or anytime when you're not reading the comic book. So I feel like music soundtracks were important in this because I'm a big fan of music. I used to DJ, and sometimes I do DJ. I feel like music plays a huge role in storytelling, and that's why I wanted it to be there. And the title Beats of War, me and my co-writer Gary, it took us about maybe 20 titles before we can get to it, but it fits really well with the sort of story that we're trying to tell. So come and support us. Check out the series if you haven't checked out the series. It's quite interesting. It's a 20 page comic book but obviously with the other concept art things you can look at. So at the moment, obviously, if you get all the 4 issues, those are 80 pages to read. How exciting is that? So guys, thank you so much. Choose the rewards, and after the campaign runs, that's when we'll post out these comic books. There'll be some digital versions based on the rewards you picked up, and I'm very excited to get Beats of War to you, the world, the real readers, the real supporters of the community. Thank you so much.